Hey there, movie fans. Buckle up because today we're delving into a Spanish-American science fiction action thriller movie from 2023 titled Awareness. So grab your popcorn and let's quickly get into the recap. In a small town in Spain, two men arrive at a store. The adult goes inside while the young one stays outside. The man pays for a piece of gum, and at first, the cashier is calm about it. However, the boy outside gets distracted by passing girls, and the woman discovers several bottles of liquor are missing. Armed with a hammer, the woman blocks the car's path. She is ready to deal with the young thief when he suddenly points a gun at her and asks her not to approach. She keeps going, and the boy pulls the trigger. The woman screams, but there is no gun in the boy's hand. The adult man brings the boy to his senses, calling him Ian, puts him in the car, and they drive away. The arriving policeman helps the woman up, but despite her moans, he finds no wound. Nevertheless, he sets off in pursuit. Meanwhile, in the truck, the father scolds the boy for reckless behavior and asks him to do something to keep the truck from being noticed. Suddenly, the pursuing policeman sees a completely different car in front of him. The father reminds them of their rules: never stand out and never joke with the family. Ian doesn't understand why they settle for so little when he can do much more. For example, he could enter a bank and show a piece of paper that the cashier would take for a check. The father objects, saying they would be found before they could spend the money, and Ian would be sent to a lab for the rest of his life. At this time, the policeman demands the car to stop, and suddenly huge hailstones start falling on his car. The car skids, spins on the road, and eventually flips over right at a gas station. However, the gas station attendant behaves as if nothing is happening, and on the surveillance monitor, the car is completely intact and standing on its wheels. An unknown woman reviews the footage from this strange robbery and praises her team for a job well done. They finally found the boy. Meanwhile, Ian and his father are at home on an old ship. The boy dreams of a young, beautiful woman playing with a child and singing. Ian wakes up and hears his father's birthday greetings, but Ian doesn't want to listen to memories and announces to his father that he is going to the arcade. The father gives him a gift, which Ian sets aside. At this time, the policeman is recounting his misadventures to a waitress, but she just laughs at his fantasies. Ignoring the man in dark glasses, a group of armed people sneaks into their home. Adriana, entering the cabin, thanks Vicente for making such a splash. Otherwise, the agency wouldn't have found them. The problem is that the perceivers now also know where Ian is hiding. She demands Vicente hand over the boy, but he remains silent. Her subordinates report that the boy is in the arcade. Meanwhile, a man among the perceivers is also looking for Ian, beating up agency employees along the way. Eventually, in one of the halls, an operative spots him and opens fire, ignoring the surrounding people. Ian sees that the perceiver is standing right behind the shooter and changes the reality in front of his eyes. The man also sees the boy, but then they sneak up behind him, put a special helmet on his head, and take him away. A girl who appears asks Ian not to look at the perceiver. The boy is taken away while the perceiver continues to fight, even with a covered face, and easily tosses the agents aside. Ian is brought to Adriana's van. The woman says that there are quite a few like him in the world, and if he wants to survive, he must go with her. Meanwhile, the perceiver who won the fight takes off his helmet, but Ian is already out of his reach. Taking Ian's silence as a sign of agreement, Adriana puts a similar helmet on him. After that, he is taken away in the agency's van. An unconscious Vicente is also there. Seeing the departing car, the perceiver rushes to the road and causes a grand accident with explosions and fire. But Adriana orders the driver to ignore the tragedy and drive on. He steps on the gas and passes through the mirage, much to the perceiver's chagrin. The boy is brought to the agency, where Adriana says that the worsening of people's lives is due to the power achieved by the ability to create lies believed by millions. People with superpowers united in an organization called Awareness control the power, manipulating the minds of the powerful, and their agency tries to maintain the scant democracy left in the world. The person he saw is a perceiver, the last of the Awareness organization, who can project images like Ian himself. He wants to recruit Ian into his team or destroy him. Adriana needs the formula in Ian's blood, with which they can create more like him. The woman wants to make sure of his abilities and asks him to create a mirage of a beach, a cocktail, and a chihuahua, for which he should use some strong emotion like anger at growing up without a mother. She shows a photo of the very woman who had been in his dreams for many years, and they immediately find themselves on the beach. Only instead of a chihuahua, there is a fly. Adriana explains that such projections can be endless. However, Ian shuts down and demands to see his father. He is escorted to a room where Vicente is regaining consciousness. Adriana advises Ian to enter the man's memory and find out the truth about the woman he has been seeing. The boy enters his father's mind and sees how many years ago he stole a child from the lab and realizes that this child was him and Vicente is not his father. Later, Adriana reviews Ian's test results and realizes he is much stronger than she thought. However, there is no trace of the formula in his blood. Apparently, he is the only naturally born perceiver, although they were made sterile. The boy may manifest a third secret ability. The project leader advises getting rid of the dangerous mutant. Meanwhile, a professor arrives at the research center. An agent, Esther, comes to Ian's room, urging him to run to avoid becoming a lab rat. She takes the boy out, but they are spotted by security near the elevators. The girl engages in a fight and quickly dispatches the guards, but Ian demands they take Vicente with them as he wants to learn about his past. Adriana is informed about the disappearance of the subjects. She declares an alarm. Meanwhile, the professor walks freely around the center, while the fugitives manage to get to the car and leave. On the way, Ian asks Vicente not to call him son, and the man understands that the boy has entered his mind. Meanwhile, the professor pulls out a gun and eliminates a group of guards. It becomes clear that he is a perceiver. Ian diverts the guards' attention at the exit, and they look everywhere but at the car. However, one of the bullets hits the wheel. Ian loses control of the car, and it goes off the road. The perceiver, having caught up with them, realizes that Ian is hiding the accident scene. Later, Ian and Esther take Vicente to a roadside hostel, where they settle in for the night. In a conversation, the girl admits she works for the awareness organization, but she herself has no superpowers. In the morning, they relax on the hostel's roof and talk about life. The boy is saddened that Vicente is not his father, but the girl advises believing in himself. Returning to the room, they find Vicente already drunk. Esther asks to leave this drunkard and burden behind. Ian decides to enter the head of the sleeping man. He again sees the lab, reads its address on documents, and hears the name Kaminsky. Later, the boy goes to the bank, handing the operator a check, and asks to cash it. The woman gives him your $5,000, but as soon as the boy leaves, she finds a piece of paper in her hands with the word, sorry. The security tries to catch the couple, but they escape. In the room, Esther joyfully celebrates such luck, but Ian is unsure if they did the right thing. The girl goes to the shower, and Ian hears the sound of a motor and creates a mirage. However, the perceiver who enters the room knows that projections are powerless against mirrors, so he immediately finds the boy. Ian rushes into a fight, and the man barely manages to calm the raging youngster. He enters the boy's mind and learns everything that happened to him in the last few hours. The perceiver leaves when Vicente returns and brings Ian to his senses. He announces that they are going to Warsaw to find Kaminsky, but the man refuses. Meanwhile, the agency tracks the purchase of tickets to Warsaw. The couple finds the building of the abandoned lab. Ian and Esther sneak inside, and soon the boy recognizes the room from his dreams. He explores the wall and finds a secret stash containing documents about the experiments conducted there. They also find his mother's diary, whose name turns out to be Ursula Kaminsky. Then the perceiver appears in the room, asking to talk. Ian tries to deceive him by projecting illusions, but he easily sees through them. Eventually, he points his gun at the boy, showing that he could have killed him long ago, but doesn't want to, because Ian is his son. He and his wife Ursula and several others were created in the 1950s during the Cold War. They were given a special drug based on Kaminsky's formula, which developed their extrasensory abilities. However, when the war ended, the authorities began to hunt down and destroy the dangerous mutants one by one. They had no hope until the mole appeared, the last of the perceivers, with the third ability to fully control a person. He created awareness, and although perceivers are sterile, he and his wife had a child. It was a real miracle. Their conversation is interrupted by the appearance of agents. The perceiver orders them to leave through the roof while he holds off the agents. The man goes out to meet the soldiers and opens fire with 2 pistols. The couple runs to the stairs, fighting off attackers along the way. The perceiver creates an illusion of dangerous spiders, and the agents start fending them off. However, he manages to get the helmet on again. Esther still gets the boy to the roof, from which she makes a spectacular jump while Ian slides down the construction chute, and the couple escapes. Meanwhile, the perceiver is brought to Adriana. She orders the process of extracting the formula from his blood to begin, causing the man pain. However, it turns out that the formula is so diluted in his body that it is impossible to synthesize it. During a break, the operator gives the perceiver a drink through a device that simultaneously holds a gun to his forehead to eliminate any chance of escape. However, suddenly the operator's hand turns the weapon on the guards and shoots them. Then he frees the prisoner. At this time, Ian and Esther arrive at the perceiver's house in Madrid, where Ursula has been living all these years. Ian is shocked by the woman's appearance. When the entering perceiver advises him to enter her mind, since now they can only communicate that way, Ian finds himself in the same white room from childhood, where a child plays with strange cubes. It turns out that this is how his mother encrypted the formula. Now the perceiver asks to give it to him to create other perceivers and end the agency. Ian refuses to do it, believing she hid it for a reason. The perceiver starts breaking into Ursula's mind and she convulses. Suddenly, she comes to her senses and recognizes her son. At this time, the house is attacked by agency agents. Enraged, Ian activates the third ability and orders the fighters to kill each other. Adriana also puts a gun to her temple. She asks him to stop, saying that everything is quite the opposite, but the boy is relentless. Then Vicente appears, asking him not to kill people. A father is the one who raises and makes sacrifices. With these words, Vicente shoots himself. Ian rushes to the dying man, while the perceiver drags Esther away. Vicente asks Ian to enter his mind. The boy sees how Ursula asked Vicente to save the child from the perceiver. He apologizes and remembers how his father taught him to look far and never give up. Vicente dies. Ian takes a gun and runs after the perceiver and ends up in a hall where a party is going on. With a wave of his hand, he lays everyone on the floor and clears a path. However, at the perceiver's command, people get up and start fighting Ian. The boy struggles, but Adriana appears and shoots the perceiver. He gets distracted and loses sight of Ian. However, he still holds Esther. He demands the formula and promises to release the girl. However, Adriana says that there is no girl here, she is a projection, so Ian can safely shoot. Esther screams that this is not true. Ian tries to recall when they could have implanted the cycle and decides that Esther is a vision. He shoots and kills the perceiver, but the girl does not disappear. Later, they meet Adriana at the cemetery. She asks for the formula, but he wants to remain neutral. He gets into the car where Esther is waiting for him. He finally opens his father's gift, which turns out to be a book, reminding him that the best awaits those who do not lose hope. This is also what Adriana relies on, who promises the leader to achieve her goal. A pretty decent sci-fi action movie with an interesting dramatic line where you won't understand until the end whose side the main character should be on, who his real father is, and whether his mother is still alive, and, overall, who is the bad guy here. If you wish to request the next recaps you'd like to see, and much more, then join our Discord group in the description. And if you enjoyed this recap, then please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, turn on the notification bell, and share the video for more awesome movie recaps. Thank you for watching.